And now I'm very pleased to introduce you to not one but two guests today. First of all, my colleague and the managing director for the Samoa Tourism Authority European team, Alison Cryer, who will be having a chat with Anna Selby, one of UK's leading freelance journalists and author. Both of them have actually visited Samoa earlier on this year, and together they will be sharing their impression about the island. So, Alison and Anna, I'm going to put my camera off and I will let you have a chat. In the meantime, if any of you do have questions, please pop them in the chat box and I will make sure to check them out and voice them on your behalf. Alison, Anna, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Seb. And maybe you could stop sharing your screen as well so that it's a little bit easier for everybody to see us. That would be fantastic. There we go. I don't know about anybody else. Can you hear me, Anna?
Yeah, perfectly.
Perfect, because we just had a power outage, so I've been fiddling with cameras. Having got everything perfectly all right earlier, I'm now on a different camera with a different microphone, but there we go. Lovely to see you. For those of you who don't know, Anna is one of our most renowned and prolific travel writers. We certainly have known each other for a long time, Anna, and we're not going to say how many years, but you've definitely been pursuing your career avidly and very actively. We know for at least 20 years because you did mention that that was the first time you went to Samoa. And that was probably when I first went to Samoa as well, as I used to run the Tourism Council of South Pacific, which was a great opportunity to get to know all the islands, and then was honoured to be invited to work just for the Samoa Tourism Authority. So Anna, do you want to? You've done an amazing article recently in the Telegraph for Samoa, and thank you very much for that. Do you want to give everybody just a few minutes background on what you do as a writer, and maybe you do other things I don't know about?
Sure. Okay, well, actually, the first time I went to Samoa, I think, is about 25 years ago, so it's a really long time. And I was already a journalist at that point, and I did write at the time about being in the South Pacific because I lived out there for a year when my son was very small. In fact, he had a very early gap year, age 4. So very memorable. And I write for the Telegraph, I write for a variety of other magazines, newspapers, websites, etc. But I suppose my main outlet these days is the Telegraph. Yeah.
Fantastic. I fancy bringing up a baby in Samoa. I can't anywhere better. They have such an amazing community spirit, don't they? And the villages are all, I think there are almost as many villages as there are days in the year, and there are as many churches as there are villages. So I let everybody do the maths on that. But Sunday, all the islands are ringing with amazing Samoan voices. So yeah, so when you first went, and then you've most recently been this year, what differences do you see between now and then? I mean, quarter of a century ago.
Well, yes, it's a long time. There is some difference, but I think the sort of magical thing for me about Samoa is how much it doesn't change, actually. So yes, there have been, there's a new airport. There is, it's much easier to do things like hire a car and stuff like that, which is, and also the best way, I think, of getting around Samoa is in your own car, under your own steam. And it's wonderful because, well, for Brits, it's particularly wonderful because they drive on the left. So that makes life very easy. No changes needed there. On these empty roads, it's a good way of getting around. In terms of other things, I mean, there are new places to stay, new accommodation and so on, but mostly I think it's the fact that it is still quite unchanged that makes it such a good place to go, because it's, I travel a lot within the South Pacific, and it's probably, I would say, in terms of accessibility, it's the most authentic place that you can get to in the South Pacific, if you're interested in the culture and the way of life. Yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And that just has not changed, I think, in those many, many years. Of course, you mentioned that we drive in Samoa on the left. Of course, 25 years ago, we were driving on the right, which was which was something right idea to change sides, which does work, and very little accidents were had, and it's now much more convenient for us. Also, they've changed the time zone, so we're now in the same time zone as Australia and New Zealand, which is much easier. There's a different in timing. It's the same sort of,
yes. Yeah. I was going to say that, because they did the thing where they were the last place in the world to see the new year. Now they're the first place.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And another fun thing for people to know is that if you want to celebrate something twice, like if it's your birthday or wedding anniversary or anything like that, you can jump on a 15-minute flight to American Samoa and start all over again, because of course they are still the other side of the date line. So you can have your birthday or your wedding anniversary twice, and you'll still come back and stay in the same place. So it's quite an unusual aspect.
Yes.
And with other new things, there's a brand new airport, which you probably noticed this time, has really upped the game in the airport.
Yes, many more flights. Yeah,
many more flights, but it's still very untouched and very quiet as a tourism destination goes. You don't feel that you're inundated by tourists, or when you go and visit the attractions, all the attractions are natural and outdoors, apart from obviously Robert Louis Stevenson's house. Did you visit the Robert Louis Stevenson's house?
I did. Yes, I did, and it is definitely worth a visit, because it's just the most extraordinary place, because it's very handsome, sort of colonial style villa, but he had this, I think, to make him feel at home, he had these two sort of stone baronial style fireplaces put in there, you know, with the least likely place in the world you're ever going to need a fire, but I think it never lit, but just to make you feel at home, I think. Yeah,
I find it very magical. And this year when I was there, we were very lucky to have a function in the evening there, which is very rare. The Samoa is gearing up to host the Commonwealth Heads of States biannual meeting and take over the presidency. And one of the things they're going to be doing is hosting an event there for Chogum, as we call it. And so the tourism industry got to be guinea pigs of this event, which was absolutely magical, as you can imagine, in this beautiful grand house. And for the agents' benefit, there are private tours, so it's very it's a very educational experience. You can spend as long or as short a time as you'd like there. You can actually walk up to his grave. I think his grave and therefore Robert Louis Stevenson still continues to have the best view, best view in Samoa.
Absolutely,
stunning view.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and how about the other different attractions? Did you manage to fit any of those in this time?
Yes, well, I mean, so I went into Apia, which is the capital, which makes it sound, you know, like it's a big city, but it really, really isn't. But one of the things I think Seb mentioned earlier is the cultural village, which is, you know, a sort of quick course in Samoan culture. And very, very interesting. And, you know, you do lots of fun things. I think there was a picture of it on the slides that went up before, where I think the most unusual kind of entertainment I have ever seen anywhere was in one of the huts. There was somebody having a tattoo traditionally applied, which was basically this poor woman lying on the floor and wincing. So it was,
with no painkillers. With no painkillers.
Yeah, you know, absolutely. But it's a sort of, you know, it is Polynesia tattoo is a Polynesian word, so it's where tattoos came from, and it's still very much a sort of rite of passage, I think. And there is a lot of that sort of thing, which is part of the kind of Polynesian Samoan, especially, way of life, which is still really very important. And it's you know, they're very interested eager to sort of share things with you as well. So it's you know, if you're at all curious, it's
Absolutely,
great.
you can walk into any village and you'd be welcomed with open
Yeah.
arms. And there are actually also specific tours that some of the chiefs of the villages are now doing with the DMCs, where you can book a tour and they will take you through, take you through different villages, explain the different villages, the different cultures in the different villages. And of course, we have some very famous people from villages in Samoa, like Monica Galetti, our more recently adopted British but originally Samoan chef. And we also have many of the rugby players who have got their homes back in Samoa too. And of course, there's more than one island. You mentioned Apia, which is on Pulu, which is the smaller but more populated island. And then you've got Savai and a couple of other islands. Did you manage to visit all or some of the other 2-3 islands?
Yes, I certainly went to Savai. I mean, which is absolutely fascinating place, because there is so much in the sort of natural wonders of Samoa. It's got so many of them, you know, with these extraordinary blowholes right on the coast, and the lava flow that went. When was it? It was in the early 1900s, wasn't it?
Yes.
And it flowed all the way down to the sea, and just went through all these villages, including, and it's still standing, this church where the roof's gone, but the walls are there, and it flows around it and indeed through it. So and this lava goes all the way down to the sea, and there was nobody got hurt, or let alone, you know, killed in this. And I discovered when I was there that the way that they avoided this, it was coming quite slowly, the lava, and then they thought, we'd better get in the water, but we don't know how long we're going to stay. So they made kind of makeshift life jackets out of coconuts, which I think, you know, they're very stoical and full of ingenuity. So I was very impressed with that. Yeah.
And the coconut is used in every which way. I mean, every part of the coconut is, and they do say that a coconut a day keeps you completely hydrated. And I have to say, I've definitely put that to the test. I love coconut water.
Yes, so absolutely. Yeah.
And you can walk to the top as well. The volcano, although it is dormant, is still alive, and you can walk to the top of that, which I think is about I think it's 1,800 feet high, which is like the height of the lower areas of the Alps nowadays. And there's lots of hiking and walking that can be done. And the nice thing about Pulu is, the Savai is the accommodation there. It's much smaller. It's much. I mean, all accommodation in Samoa is local in one sense or another, but or at least locally inspired and founded. But in Savai, because of the nature of the destination, it's smaller and it's much more intimate.
It is. But and I stayed in a variety this last time of different kinds of accommodation, all of which were lovely. What I didn't do this time, but I did do the very first time, and I think it is worth bearing in mind. It sounds kind of slightly unusual, but I think a lot of people would absolutely love it, which is certainly what I did, which is in a village, and to stay in a beach valet. So you're literally on the beach, and you're in this hut on stilts with a thatched roof, and that's about it really. And you literally fall out of bed onto the sand, and you live with the family, with all the, you know, sort of extended family of a village, and it is a really wonderful experience, actually. And I think even if you only did it, you know, for a night, it's really, really worth doing. And that thing of sort of waking up and going to sleep with the sound of the waves is just lovely.
Very, very special and very unique, of course.
Very unique, really unique. Yeah, not to be missed.
And then there are a couple of, and so that was actually on Savai'i, was it?
Actually, when I stayed in the Fallet, in the beach hut, no, that was on the southeast corner of Upolu.
Okay, down by
Yeah.
Lanzarote, probably.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also the opportunity of going over to Manono, which is one of the very tiny, weeny islands. It's got just one village, and you can do the same thing there. In fact, that's all you can do there. They don't have anything else. And then the other islands are primarily reserves, but you can go over by boat and spend the day with a picnic. Or the water is so clear, you can see turtles just so easily.
It is, yeah.
It's fantastic. One thing I noticed, I don't know if you did this time around, was Apia has become very much a cafe and restaurant culture.
Yes.
You know, in sort of like 20, 25 years ago, there had been very few cafes and restaurants. Everyone ate at home, and the tourists ate in their hotels because that's what happened. Whereas now there's a plethora, and I think this is as a result of COVID, because Samoa was locked down for 3 years, so they had to entertain themselves. They were going to the hotels, and they created this lovely cafe culture.
Yes, yeah, no, it's true. And I think, it's really worth pointing out how good the food is, because it is so fresh and so delicious. And I've forgotten what it's called now, but the dish, which is basically tuna marinated in lime juice with coconut cream and some bits of salady vegetables. I think, it's probably one of the most delicious things I've ever eaten. Probably because
it's not put. I've just, as you said it, I was about to say it. And it's about poke is the one that's marinated with soya, and the one that's marinated with coconut milk. Seb will probably come and correct me if I can't remember it in the next few minutes. But it is one of my favorite dishes worldwide, and I've tried every one across Samoa. So different. Every place does it slightly different. And then, of course, you have the evenings. They have a special fear night, which is fire night. And I think Seb might have shown. Everyone saw in the video there the dancing with the fire, and in each hotel gets their staff or the village to do their own performance of a fear night, and it can go from just a family of 5 or 4 members of the staff right up to, again, if you have a special event on, 30 people all playing with their fear fire and dancing, singing. And that's such a traditional, unique experience. And the hotels put on barbecues as well. And so I think everyone that goes to Samoa must try at least one fear night. Depending which way you go around the island, you may end up doing one in every hotel. So there's another thing to be careful about. There's a couple of questions that just come up, Anna. One is about how easy is it to get married in Samoa? Depends on your nationality. And you would be asking the British High Commission to marry you, or a church, depending on your denomination. So that it's not difficult, and there is a license that can be achieved. I believe it's 3 to 5 days. But again, Seb will probably correct me on that one. The beach huts on stilts. That was the beach hut on stilts that Anna stayed in was actually on Upolu, down on the beach, Lolagota Beach, where most of the fallets are at the moment, and they're called fallets, Fale. However, there are also lots of them as well on Savai'i, and that's another nice way of visiting Savai'i, and of course Manono. So there's a choice there. And the last question is, the fish is cool.
The dish.
Kamata. No, it's not. That might be the Fijian one version of it. Seb, come on, help us out. I can't believe I can't remember.
It's called Ia something. Ia something in the Cook Islands.
Are you able to help us out on this one? There you are. Anyway, we will come back to you, because I will remember it eventually. I know that it's 2 words.
It's 2 words. I think it's Ia something, but
can't believe we can't remember it. Anyway, going back to other aspects.
Sorry, ladies, it's Ota Ika.
Ota Ika. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. But the other one, which is the when it's marinated in soya sauce is also very nice as well. I know you've had that as well. And just
Yes.
anything tuna. I don't eat meat. Anything tuna is fantastic.
It is.
Whether it's cooked or raw or whatever. But also they do their very traditional barbecues on Sundays where they cook the meat in the ground. And although I'm not a meat eater, it does look delicious. And I've had lots of people with me who've tried it themselves. Do we have any other questions, guys? You'll feel welcome to pop your or experiences to share. If not, we'll talk about how we got there, because it's like the many ways of skinning a cat. I never know if that's very politically correct nowadays, but there's many ways of getting to Samoa. I've been over via New Zealand, which tends to be the more traditional, straightforward way, flying with Air New Zealand and a combination of Air New Zealand and I think an American airline into LA, and then LA into Auckland, and then Auckland, Samoa. I believe that's the quickest way. I've also been recently with Fiji Airways over Hong Kong, and Fiji Airways, I have to say, is a very good excellent.
I agree.
Excellent. I am very impressed with them. I think they can be very proud of themselves, the service, quality of the aircraft, etc. I was also lucky enough to be shown the business class lounge in Fiji, and that is stunning. Yes, it's a very good airline to recommend. That's London, Hong Kong, Fiji, Samoa. I've been over Abu Dhabi before, when I've done London, Abu Dhabi, Sydney, but I think you have to go into Brisbane now, and then Sydney, Samoa. How about you, Anna? Have you taken any other routes?
Well, actually, I did a combination this last time. I went Virgin LA, and then Fiji Airlines from LA into Fiji, and then from Fiji hopped across to Samoa.
Yeah,
and so of course, lots of ways.
There are lots and lots of ways, so you can be very inventive and creative with your bespoke itineraries. And of course, the thing about Samoa is, people say to me, how long do you need to spend in Samoa? Well, you spent a year, so that for me says it all. I could spend as much time as I have there, because once you're there, you relax and you become so Samoan. Samoa, which is the Samoan way of life, you completely embrace it, don't you, Anna?
Absolutely.
Everything's chill, nothing's in a hurry, and you can just enjoy nature. So, but a minimum, I would say, would be a week, because you do want to do Apollo and Savai, the two islands, main islands at least, and stay on both. The ferry experience going between the two is great fun as well.
It is, yeah.
It's part of the experience. If you have a car, you can take your car on. You can also just go along by foot and then get picked up at the other side. There are also ways of hiring motorbikes if you're feeling ambitious, or if you're feeling energetic, bicycles, whichever works for you. So how long do you reckon, Anna, you would stay in Samoa and the islands or something?
I would really, if you were adding it on to a longer trip, so if you were going to Australia or New Zealand or something like that, and then you wanted a completely different feel at the end and something really, really relaxing and lovely, I would say a week. You could,
a week as well. Yeah.
So you could do 3 and 4 maybe over the two islands. Yeah.
And I would also recommend staying in 2 parts of Apollo. So I would still say go into Apia, go to the cultural village, because that really explains the whole of Samoa to you in a very few hours. Spend some time in and around Apia just to get to know it, but it's not a big town, it's a teeny weeny village compared, in British terms. So, a day enjoying the market and the museum and Robert Louis Stevenson, etc., and the restaurants, the cafes, so maybe a couple of nights there. Then go over to Savai, and then come back and do the South Coast, which you were talking about, South Coast, where you've got all the beautiful resorts. You've got a plethora of resorts, some larger than others, but when we say large here, we're talking maybe 75 rooms, so we're not talking big. And when we're talking small, we're talking 12. But all very, and I want to say, Samoan luxury. It's not, a lift and fitted carpets and branded hotels luxury, but it's very luxurious in a nice local way. And that will give you kind of, and then spend obviously your time in Savai'i, and you can go round the whole of Savai'i technically in a day, but you want to spend time doing it. You want to stop off, and you spend a couple of days there too. Now, of course, if you're going via Fiji, Fiji is a nice combination. You mentioned Polynesia. Samoa is Polynesian. Fiji is Micronesian. And in my mind, there's a big difference between
There is a big difference, yeah,
and the two types of countries and cultures. What would you say the difference is, Anna?
Well, I think there's a lot of difference, and I think, you know, partly it's in terms of the culture and what people do, but also, I mean, if you wanted to split the two things, I think Samoa is the one which feels very authentic, very beautiful, very relaxed, and you know, still as it's always been. But if you wanted to combine that with having, you know, a lot, you could go, I mean, they have lots of cruises, they have huge golf courses and big hotels and all of that sort of thing. So if you wanted to kind of do that and then do the contrast, I think that also would work, actually.
Yeah. And of course, they have the 6-star luxury islands, which
They
are, you pay for what you get. But, you know, we don't have that in Samoa, and we could never say we do. So it is a very busy culture. But we do have a golf course.
Yeah, I didn't see the golf course, but this time, yeah.
So there is that to do as well. And then I remember visiting Tonga as well in the past, which is more rural than Samoa. Another contrast maybe would be Tahiti, the French Polynesian side, because even though it's still Polynesian, I found it very different.
It's very French, isn't it? Is it? Yeah, a lot of influence in the cooking and the accommodation and all of that. Yeah,
and a little bit the attitude as well.
Yes,
but we won't go on to that. Yeah. And then another one that I have to tell everybody here I've never been to. I'm hoping Anna has, because it's somewhere I really want to go to, and that's Vanuatu. Have you been to Vanuatu?
I've not been to Vanuatu.
No. Vanuatu, Micronesia, and again that's a contrast. It's French as well, but it's got 32 islands and 32 languages there apparently.
Wow.
So
yes.
All sorts of opportunities. But I always say that if you've got friends and family, so if you're handing your clients or regular goers to Australia because they've got friends and family out there and they go maybe once a year for a couple of months or a few weeks or whatever, adding Samoa onto that is you mentioned it earlier, is a really good idea, because you can take the family with you. It's very much the Mallorca or the Balearic Islands of Australia and New Zealand. It's where they go for their sort of winter sun, and it's very popular with Australia and New Zealand. And yet it's because it's close. It's like 5 and a half hours flight, but it's so different, so completely different, definitely to Australia. And with New Zealand, although New Zealand got the Maori culture, it is still a different type of Maori culture. You are likely to meet a lot of Samoans in New Zealand. It's kind of like their second home. As Samoa was a protectorate of New Zealand at one stage as well, and a lot of people go there to be educated. So it's less of a change than maybe with Australia, but it's still a nice add-on to that. Great. Anything else you'd like to add? Anything else you'd like to share with us that we haven't covered?
Gosh. I mean, I think we've covered most things, really. I mean, I would just say I truly think it's a really magical place, and having, you know, I spent a year, not completely all of the time in Samoa because I was going to various other places, but I have to say, you know, it's just very, very special. And if I had to pick one place to go, I think in the South Pacific it would be Samoa, actually. In fact, my son, when he came home, when he was about, I don't know, 9 or 10, somebody said to him, you know, what are your favorite countries in the world? And he said, Scotland and Samoa. So there we are.
And they are tied together with Robert Louis Stevenson. So hopefully his favorite book is Treasure Island.
Everything, yeah.
Well, that is amazing. And I have to say, my sons always say, which is my favorite place I'd love to go to, because you've been working for them for over 15 years and we still haven't managed to get in your suitcase yet. And it is somewhere I promise I will take them. Definitely in a very, very near future. Anna, it's as ever lovely speaking to you and seeing you. And I'm sure we'll be catching up very shortly anyway, in real life, or in real life, in real something,
Real life,
in
yes.
body. It's so
Absolutely.
fantastic to see such a plethora of people here, and little. We could really play a Scrabble game today with the number of little squares there, which is fantastic. So well done, Seb. This, you have recorded this, I believe, so we can send it out to anyone that needs didn't make it or wants a recording.
Absolutely.
Guys, any questions? You know, we're here for you. You can pop it again in the chat box. I've tried to keep an eye on it. Anyone else got any burning questions? One thing we didn't mention, and I will mention this, and not that I am at all biased, because it was mentioned to me by the travel agents and tour operators I took out to Samoa recently. Samoa is very, very good value for money. I actually ended up buying, and I'm not going to explain it, it's a long story, but I ended up paying for a dinner out there. I was not expecting to pay for 10 people. And I went, oops, that's going to be an expensive meal, but never mind. It was a fantastic evening. It was a Fia night. We had lots of nice drinks and everything. And if I say to you, it cost me for 10 people, £90. £90 for a full buffet, as much as you could eat and entertainment. And again, I bought coffees. I thought, oh, I'll just buy a few coffees. Oh, gosh, here we go again, 10 coffees. My expenses budget's out the window. And it was like, I mean, and coffee is, you know, is anywhere in the world. Although Samoa has its own coffee, it's still quite an expensive entity by the time they've done all the coffee machine and everything. And again, that was like, I think it was £1 a person maximum. And that's quite an expensive item to buy. Everyone says that you compare Samoa to anywhere else in the South Pacific, and it is very good value for money.
Thank you very much to both of you, Alison. And it was fascinating. Your passion for the island is contagious, and I can't wait to go back sometime soon. But thank you to you both very much
Thank
for
you.
joining me today. Last but not least, we're very excited because this week we are launching a brand new online travel agent course on Travel Uni. This will come online over the coming days, and the details are on the slide there, samoaspecialist.com. If you do require anything else going forward, please do reach out to myself, do reach out to Alison. Again, the email samoa@representationplus.co.uk. There is a lot of information on our website, samoa.travel. Do like us, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're on all of the social media channels. The handle is simply Samoa Tourism. And I will make sure to follow up over the coming days with some additional information about our beautiful islands. So unless there are any more questions in the chat box, I think we're going to call this a wrap. Please do reach out if we can assist in any possible way. Thank you very much to all for joining us today. Have a great day. Talofa lava.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.